Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. This is game number 3 in the mini tournament Americas that just happened yesterday. So in this game, I'll be up against Sauron. He is a very defensive player, but also a very good player. And I'm going with heavy armor specialist with arc lights and stormcallers. And my opponent here is going to go with supply specialist with arc lights and sledgehammers. All right, turn one. With this sort of setup, I think there's really no other choice but putting down chaff. For my opponent, he will likely win this round because both of his units are pretty good against chaff and tanks are quite tanky, able to close the distance with my Stormcallers. So a 2 shots from a sledgehammer will kill Stormcaller, and I think it also takes about 2 shots from the Stormcaller, and the only difference is that the Stormcaller takes 6 seconds to shoot and the sledgehammers take 4 seconds to shoot, so it's a little better. And that's when there's no chaff on the board. But if there are chaff on the board, if the chaff are fast moving like those crawlers, then the sledgehammer have even a greater advantage because they can clear out crawlers a little bit more effectively than the stormcrawlers can. I was debating whether I should go vertical or horizontal stormcrawlers. Going vertical stormcrawlers, they're obviously a little better against other vertical units. But another thing is that they kind of shoot instead of all together, but kind of in sequence. If the tanks move forward and I shoot all together, I may miss all the tanks. I have to wait for 6 seconds. But if they are being shot in sequence and the tank happen to stop just a little ahead of the first Stormcaller shot, then I might be able to land the rest of my Stormcaller shots. So very small differences. Doesn't really affect the whole game. And it doesn't really make a difference right now because the sledgehammers are stopped and they are hitting my units, so most of my rockets will hit something. Alright, so as expected, the tanks come in, Stormcrawlers come in. Usually these type of games is very close, so in this case I have a Stormcaller, he's got an arc light left. Now it's just a matter of can I get his tower. I think Stormcallers, 4 missiles. It probably takes 2 volleys, assuming all the missiles hit. Oh, there it is. I actually won that round. Very happy about that. Alright, so let's go to the cards here. For me, Fire Badger was a no-brainer. Because none of the other unit really stood out for me. Fire Badger not only provides chaff clear for fast moving units, which I'm currently not the most strong. I think, yes, I got the arc lights, but the stormcrawlers are not great against crawlers. But the more important role that the Fire Badgers serve is as a tank. So Fire Badgers have 6,900 health per unit, and there's 3 units. They are, in total, they're actually more tanky than a squad of sledgehammers. So I effectively have a squad of amped up sledgehammers as far as health goes. That also happens to be great chaff clear against his crawlers. I added 2 marksmen in anticipation for a wraith. My opponent did something very clever here. So he picked the Fire Badgers as well, and he was just playing around where he's going to position his Fire Badgers so that he would draw my units essentially from this side of the tower over to the Fire Badgers. So in this case, he's going to draw the crawlers for sure. He might even draw one of my Fire Badgers over to help. The Arclight, I think, yeah, Arclight is currently on the side of the tower, both sides as well. So he's drawing quite a lot of units that are ineffective against the Fire Badgers on both sides. So as you watch the battle unfold, right, this is I will call this an advanced strategy. A lot of times people flank just for the sake of flanking, right? They want to get in, they want to get a quick tower, easy peasy. But in this case, he created a very unique problem in the sense that, one, none of the units that's being drawn to the Fire Badgers are effective against the Fire Badgers. But more importantly, I needed those units on the front line. I needed the arc light to deal with some of the chaff problems at the front, and I needed my crawlers to be the chaff at the front. So right now he's taking apart some of the core elements of my strategy just by having fire badgers on the side and pulling my units over. I mean, eventually I'll have an answer for the fire badgers, but it is extremely annoying, right? Even if I have an answer, unless it's like something that's you can get to very quickly. Like for example, if I put like a scorpion here, yeah, that's a very good answer, but that just means I need to get scorpion. If I have like a semi-decent answer, like I put some maybe sledgehammers, or like put a couple marksmen here because they run so slow. These units are still going to take time to walk all the way over here, and once they've dealt with these fire badgers, then the arc light is still going to take time to walk all the way back here, and by the time all of that action is done, the battle is over on the front line. So it's extremely annoying to deal with. All right, so let's take a look at the cards. Deployment spec is pretty good. Intensive training is pretty good. Improved War Factory is pretty good. I am thinking about going War Factory. I have been going War Factory so far in the tournament, and it has won me games. So in this case, I think War Factory could be a good answer as well. But instead, I've decided to go with intensive training, and I've added 2 packs of wasps. So this, so when I chose the wasp, I think an important theory to underline here is about unit efficiency, right? He created this problem which caused a lot of problems for me. Instead of just answering his problems, which still gives him the tempo advantage, because then he can introduce more problems elsewhere in the board, I wanted to answer his problems while introducing a new problem. Now, of course, I was not expecting him to go wasp, right? So this is a coincidence. But if he hadn't gone wasp, if he's gone like more sledgehammers, right? Very common thing, just go with more sledgehammers. He would have to deal with my wasp, and with only 2 marksmen, that would have been a very difficult battle, at least for 1 round. Which means I would have regained some of this tempo, because in the next round, I know he's either going to go Mustangs, going to go Wasp, and I can introduce some other problems for him to deal with, right? And I'm sure he probably wasn't expecting me to go Wasp either. And he was a little surprised. I think these level 2 Wasps did really well, simply because I had a bit more tankiness at the front with the help of those fire badgers. All right, round 4. Senior attack is interesting. Shield drop is interesting. Photon and mass produce, neither of these is interesting. We already have Wasp on the board, so nobody we're going to pick mass produced. And Photon, I mean, maybe on the side. He does have a pretty big flank, so if I want to have something going on here, I can do that. He took the shield drop, and it's just extra annoying, right? Because shield drop is the only way you can add shields to your flank. Right now, I don't have any units that can break those shields. So if he adds the shield drop, my wasp will naturally attack the shield first, allowing the fire badgers to move forward. He also added ranged wasp of his own to deal with my wasp. Yeah, it's just very annoying flank. It's not doing a lot of damage, but it's just tying up so much of my resources that aren't optimized against these type of units. I took the shield on the wasp. I took shield because I didn't expect my wasp to be that useful in the later game, but if they were to be useful, sometimes, especially at like round 9, I like to go with 3 squads of wasp with shield just to mess my opponent's targeting. So I took the shield. My opponent took range, so he actually want the wasp to do damage and to become a carry unit. So as you can see, where our strategies start to diverge right here. I'm very lucky with the shield because he put a missile here. So the missile did absolutely nothing except to strip my shield out of my level 2 wasp, which means these guys are now once again able to participate in the fight against these level 1 wasps. And because my level 1 wasps are targeting mostly my units on the ground, that allows this level 2 wasp to get in and do the damage it needs to do. I did lose on the flank side. It's just because my wasps weren't able, well, none of my units was able to DPS down this shield. And with my tower debuffed, I think that's a pretty straight up win for my opponent. Okay, so now we're going to round 5. Now, one thing to notice with round 5, even before looking at the cards, is the difference in supplies. My opponent is a supply specialist, and I am ahead of him by 100 supply. Because I am planning on going War Factory, so I am saving up my money. There's really nothing, there's no reason to waste your resources unless you have a great opportunity. And I didn't have a great opportunity. I could have leveled my marksman, maybe do a little bit more damage, but rather I wanted to save that money so that we can introduce the War Factories on this turn. All right, so with that, let's take a look at the cards. Portable Shield, pretty interesting. Missile Strike's pretty interesting. Heavy Armor. So I took the Missile Strike, trying to catch one of these wasps off guard. My opponent took the Heavy Armor. I'm not sure where he's going to put his Heavy Armor. Maybe he's thinking what I'm thinking. Maybe he's bringing a Giant as well. For me, I think... so I upgraded the Wasps. Okay, is this the turn for War Factories? Okay, it's not the turn for War Factories just yet, so I'm still trying to test my opponent. I want to see that if there's an overcommitment somewhere that I can capitalize. And there is. So he decided to go with aerial specialization wasps to go against my wasp. He's doing it because my wasps are more leveled and I also have intensive training. But he doesn't know that I'm actually not planning on using this wasp as carry. So I'm not interested in engaging in a wasp fight whatsoever. And I'm only upgrading this so that I can hopefully bait out some anti-air tech. As if I'm supporting my own arguments, I'm putting down Mustangs. Mustangs are really good against wasps, but they are also excellent when used with War Factory, as they can serve both as chaff clear, but also as chaff once the chaff is cleared. All right, adding more more Mustangs. My opponent continued to build on this flank, so 2 extra sets of crawlers. All right. So I'm saving 150 resource again. I wanted to see what's going to happen this round without bringing out the War Factory. I could have brought the War Factory. I think it would have served me pretty well this round as well. But now that I've seen the overcommitment with the Wasp, I said, you know what? It's definitely time to get the War Factory going to deal with this problem once and for all. These are now level 2 Fire Badgers, so they are extra tanky, and of course with the heavy armor, they take forever to kill. I don't think I can kill them with the units I have here. My Mustangs are doing what they're supposed to do, being annoying. Okay, so he went on the side. He still has Fire Badgers left. Hopefully I can get the tower, so that will allow my stone crawlers to really bombard. And these are level 2 stone crawlers. But unfortunately they got stuck on a bunch of crawlers. That's okay. Because next round, War Factory. Fortress is being offered. I think Fortress is the great option for my opponent. Only because he doesn't know that I actually want to go War Factory. I got the single unit, so the high level Sabertooth, because I just want to sell that unit. And I went with 2 War Factories with efficient maintenance. I'm going to put one war factory right here on the flank to deal with whatever things that's happening here. And I'm going to put another war factory possibly on the other side here to rush the tower. This side has been winning pretty hard for a couple rounds now, so I expect this to continue to win. I saw the fortress card, so I expect him to go fortress one way or the other. I just don't know if he's going to put them on the front or going to put them on the flank. It did make sense to have them on the flank because he already has a considerable amount of units here. All right, so I took efficient maintenance. I sold my Sabertooth. I got tower upgrades. I think I am all set for this round to start. Next round, I'm going to start selling my wasps because they're no longer useful and they can no longer win battles against the aerial spec wasp of my opponent. So no point keeping them around. All right. So my opponent got the shield bubble, makes sense. So far he hasn't seen any of my units that can deal damage. But now he's in 2. So the flank has been taken care of very quickly. The good thing about War Factory against the flank is that all 4 of his cannons, well in this case 3 of his cannons are being used. If you're using War Factory to attack, so like the one on the left, only 2 of the cannons are being used most of the time. So in this case, as you can see, the 2 cannons facing forward are clearing out these tanks. The 2 cannons in the back are taking out of the crawlers. Okay, continue to push forward. The wasps are dealing damage. They might even kill this War Factory, but I still have some Mustangs left over. I got a tower debuff. And the marksman walks over, taking care of all the remaining wasps. Fantastic. Okay, so now the tempo is officially on my side of the board. How will my opponent answer the War Factory problem? And he's in a pretty tough spot because right now on this side of the board, he doesn't have a lot of space to maneuver. Like the 3 ways to combat against the War Factory, right? You can put acid crawlers, not acid crawlers. You can put acid scorpions. You can put melting point, or you can put your own War Factory. In this case, I think your factory is not going to fit on the flank, so good luck with that. He could try to put a War Factory here and try to walk their way down, so that's potentially a way to do it. A melting point is very exposed as well. He has no chaff here. So another way to deal with this flank for my opponent is to give up on the flank. But that's also difficult because he has so many units that's already committed, and whatever unit he takes out is just going to make this flank weaker, so he's wasting a lot of resource that's not achieving a lot. So he can either choose to go harder on this, or he can choose to give up. And neither are great options. For me, I took the card, I took the Underground Crawler, Underground Threat card, and I started adding replicate on these crawlers because I was looking at this board and I said, okay, so he could probably go melting point on the end. He's not going to go melting point here, but he could definitely go melting point in this front line. But what he really lacks is chaff clear. He's got a few tanks at the front. He doesn't have any fire badgers. He has a few arc lights, right? So a replicate crawler with underground threat could actually create a lot of problems for him. And it can also defend my side of the board against him. Okay, so I took that technology. I continue to add a bit of chaff, I think just a few more crawlers here and there. Upgrade my units, so now this War Factory is level 2. It's going to take down these fortresses even faster. It doesn't matter if it's got shield bubbles. Look how quickly the shield bubbles dissipate. The underground is doing work over here and is also defending the crawlers over here. The bad thing about if you're comparing, right, both corners, you'll notice that I'm actually clearing out his crawlers a little bit faster. And that's just because, again, war factories in a defensive position are so much better, right? You can activate all 4 of his cannons, effectively doubling his damage output. All right, so we got a log on from the melting point, but it's just too little too late. Walks forward. We got a few wasps, but I've got mustangs. Yep, and that's GG. I hope you're enjoying this cast, and I hope to see you on the next one.